Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Mr. Keshe, who seeded humanity?
The earth itself. The condition of it, that few degree angle in what we call axis of the earth, creating the 4 seasons, created a combination of fields, interaction, production, and these fields somehow, through the balanced common denominator, interact with each other. Once the condition was created, the water, the oxygen, the hydrogen, and the rest of it, then what came in it is a different story. Life of a planet, life of a structure has sequences. And scientists have not understood this sequence. You cannot produce gases if you don't get the plates, if you don't get a box, if you don't get the water, if you don't get the salt. You can't have gases if you buy the plates, buy the salt, and get the water, but you have no container. You can't have gases if you have the container, you have the water, but you have no salt. So life is the same. It has to be, and it comes in sequences. When one is done, then condition of the position creates the next one. Doesn't matter where you are in the universe. The rays of the sun led to the creation of amalgamation of some of its own back to itself, absorption of whatever to itself, that led to creation of the earth as a matter, pieces of plasmas. Interaction of the fields created the gravity. Interaction of the gravity and magnetic field receiving and giving created dimension of the planet. In dimension of the planet, now you have a field which is a loose bullet in the fields of the what we call solar system. You got, as I call, a knife on the edge of a fast rotating spin stone. It creates sparks. Those sparks are different, they're not all the same. Big one, long one, short one, oxygen, hydrogen, whatever. Now you have a container, now you brought the water in, you brought the next condition. And in that process of the knife running against the rotating wheel, you created other things called the zinc and copper and the rest and the salt and whatever. And then in interaction with each other within the oceans, the right temperature and condition, you cannot produce gases sometimes in a minus 50 degrees, even though they're produced. You have to have the right condition, then you create the right gas. And if you can amalgamate those gases, as you've seen, you create rotation. Then you create some of your life. This is exactly what happened on Earth. But when you have the Earth, you created the salt, you created the water, you created even the sand and the soil. And if there is a matching structure across the universe which can fit to this, can survive in this, it can replicate itself with it. Go back to the teaching of years ago when I spoke about the shoe crab. Origin of the life of the physicality of the man is condition of the man. The origin of this earth. What happened with the soul of the man in interaction with another physical dimension which was matching the condition of the earth? If the knowledge is transformed and transmuted to the soul of the man or the physicality of the man, that's another condition. The race of the man we see today is not the only one. Initially, when the earth was created and the condition came right, there were thousands of men similar things. The one which was a stronger started dominating. And now what we see is men up today. Even if domination was spreading, he split himself into different color and races. So, what's the origin of the man? The origin of the man, the earth is from interaction of some fields. But once you create a condition, the others which come in it, they can live within it. That's why a third of the population of this planet is from outside, not from here, because they can live in this condition. But they're not from Earth. As I always said, we have a beautiful Farsi board. It says, whoever has a mustache is not your uncle. Because all the Iranians have mustaches. And you have a lot of uncles. God help your grandpa and your father. So we have to understand that life is not exclusivity, but life is created out of the condition of exclusivity of the interaction of the fields of this planet. So where did the man come from? From Earth. And where did the man will go? Again, from Earth, because he's got the fingerprint of the soul of the Earth. You up to now, you looked at, if you moved to China, you look Chinese. If you went to South America, you look South American. If you went to the North Pole, you became something else. But you got to understand, the soul, common denominator soul of all of them are the same, but the creation is subject to the soul of the planet. So we all have a fingerprint of the soul of this planet within our soul. We have a fingerprint of the solar system within our soul. We have a fingerprint of our galaxy within our soul. And we have even the fingerprint of this universe in our soul. When we go to the other universes, when they look at us, oh, this is from that universe, in that galaxy there and there. That's the fields you produce. You see the separation. If you leave Earth at the point of death, you carry that fingerprint with you. If your position as a new soul, as a new star, is in another galaxy or another universe, you carry all the fingerprints of where you came through the field interactions. Now, you were doing the tracing of where the man came. If you go to United Nations website or the other side, that they trace your ancestors, where you came. And if you'd done it, he came from Europe, he came to Asia, you were a black man somewhere else. It's the same way now in the dimension of the soul. Through the strength and color and the interaction of the fields, you attract back to Earth. From which galaxy, from which universe, from the rest. It's just because we didn't have the knowledge, we were not aware of it. Now we're aware of it, we understand. So, life of the man, man from Earth, started from Earth. man from other part of the universe, being a man, we accept them as a man. But in their souls, in a dimension of physicality, we can soon know where they are from. A lot of travelers of the universe are in a black skin. It must be a surprise and a shock, but in time you will see. Because when they came to the original source of creation of life on this planet, and not on this mutation. Go back to some of the teachings of the past 3, 4, 5 years ago. I explained this when I was sitting in a cafe in Ghana, when I saw them and they tried to hide behind the lift. We see the original races, not the mutation of races. Then you understand. Life originated on this planet according to the environment of this planet.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 478th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, March 23rd, 2023. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute Education Department, and part of the public teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond, and I'll be host today. Once again, in these weekly Knowledge Seekers workshops. And once again, we have the pleasure of the company of Mr. Mehran Keshe as our guide and teacher through this workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready to begin today's teaching?
Yes. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to you, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge of the Keshe Foundation and Spaceship Institute. We welcome you back, and we apologize that we had to change the time of the teaching today from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock as usual. Whenever we have something important, we try to be the same day, but move it to a time when it can be fit that we can be there to learn from each other. Today's we have a number of announcements and a lot of things which has happened in the last week, and a lot of things to learn and answering some questions and see where we go. And if you were with us on the 19th of February, we did a session dining with the Creator, and then we allowed the knowledge seekers, some 150, 160 of them, to dine for a whole week with the Creator, and then the second week to entertain the Creator, to see what they bring on the table. And this gave us a lot of insight, opportunities for us to understand who we are, what we do, how we handle, how we feed, how the feeding to us is, and what it means and what it does. This was quite a large number for us, and learning from it was the cornerstones of the whole exercise for you and from us. As I was explaining to one of knowledge seekers last couple of days, to do this kind of surveys, to do this kind of trials, to do this kind of testing, for organization cost huge amount of time organizing and all sorts of things, and a lot of financial backing to it, and all sorts of finding at the end if you actually find the right answer and you get the right emotion from the test you done. But thanks to the knowledge seekers, you're leaping in very fast level to where we want to be, because we get the data, we see how it is, and we understand about the behavior, human behavior. On a return call, in a way, to see how people did, how it was, did actually feel anything. Does this system work? Because it's easy for us to say, oh, you came, you went there, you did this, you did that. But it was important for us to see how the system interacted. Does it actually interact, or is it just for us to say we have a system? And in a way, the food is the best way to get man going, as the Chinese say. When you say hello to a Chinese, say ni hao, and then the second word is shalama, have you eaten? Are you hungry? So this is a habit of man. Man, are you hungry? What do you want? What can I give you? How can I satisfy your hunger? And in that process, we come to understand a lot. What we expect, what we want, what we see. How do we feed ourselves? Can we find? What is the effect of living in a space without food? And we allowed in the first section of the Sunday Testimonials, which is fully recorded and kept by the Keshe Foundation, and some of the knowledge seekers have recorded it in the background, to see what it was, how people felt, and how do people feel getting in these kind of conditions. We saw some interesting results, some interesting answers, and at the end of the session, of the what we call Sunday, we took a poll. We asked people questions, and they answered. And we took a good look at what it was and how it took shape and how many people answered. And I took a screenshot of not the final poll, but near the last 10 or 15 minutes of the poll, how people responded as we went from different languages and different things. But more or less, every person on the panel, except the organizers and translators, what they were putting aside, we had 79 out of 80 answering, 79 or 79. And this gave us a very good indication. There's a small misunderstanding. And the last question, where we said, what would you give your soul? Would you give up your soul for the other entities to exist? And this created what we call dilemma for some, otherwise still sits in a very interesting position. The most important thing for us was, does our system interact in the mass numbers? Because we have a reason to understand, and the beauty of it is that if we can interact with you by food in mass, can we interact with you by food for your energy? Can we interact for your wellness? Can we interact with you for creating conditions of transmutation and transportation together? And this was one of the very first trials that we looked at this and how it is, and to take any ambiguity away from the whole process. How many people who actually went through the 19th of February session and the following 2 weeks, how did they feel? What was the feeling? And There were 8 common questions between them, which we wanted to know. And we explored to understand these, what we call answers. What does it bring to us? How does it allow us to expand our knowledge? How do we see, and how can we go further in understanding of the totality of the whole structure? Does the human race, would the human race comply with the, what we call, standard pattern of what we wanted to do? And what can we understand from this? One of the first questions we asked is, did you salivate during the session? Which means, did you create water? Because this water we produce creates a salinity which decides what energy we absorb from the environment. We have this, as you can see on the statistics, we went to 79 out of 80. We took a screenshot of 69 people voting while it was going on. And we see about 75% did, which means the system has a capability to trigger the brain of the man to produce water. But most of the water which you produce at this moment through the interaction of the plasma is a plasmatic water. And it's different than the water you drink. It's already converted into a plasma. Saliva is different than water, which means it's a combination of interaction of the fields, because it's already is within your structure. And this structure allows us to see how you feed yourself, how you absorb energy. When you have a dry mouth, you absorb different energy from the environment when you have a saliva, or what we call salivation in your mouth. Totally different kind of energy is absorbed. That's why we drink water. When we drink water, drink is not the saliva, it's a different structure, it's a different plasma, because it just entered, it has not been converted. And it was important for us to see that you actually create that water in your body. And we see the same thing in the lungs. When the condition of the lung changes, we collect water in it, we create the moisture of the lung. And if we change the breathing technique, we can get the lungs flooded or different kind of energy absorbed. This question was very wide, because if we can get you to create a saliva, we can get you to create different salinities to absorb different energies. So in the coding of the plasma, we can create a condition that you create a saliva for chips. We can create a saliva to absorb the energy of an apple. Scientifically, this is a huge answer for us. But scientifically, to us, it tells us we can give you energy the same way, the same structure as for cancer, as for schizophrenic, as for Alzheimer's, as for any virus in the universe. So we can dictate. And we put to this structure people who are receptive to receive. When we put the same team again back in a month time through the same process, you will see the figures of 75 will go to 95, because the body has said for, we prepared it for. So this first question was a crucial question for us, that first of all, our system interacts with the people, and how we can use the fields of the interaction. And the whole purpose was, if you remember, we We had a German lady, which we asked her to drink water. She says, I was getting flooded. So much water was coming. So like creating so much saliva. So we knew it with 1%. Now we have 75% of the people in this. And this is half of the people who actually came to die. The second question for us was, have we noticed reduction in food consumption in the following week? 77% say yes. So if we pattern the first question in a way that every day we change the combination of the food, most of you within 2 to 3 weeks will not eat anything. If 77% of you have noticed reduction in food consumption, which means you have taken it from the system because you came in every week to eat. But you take what you need, you can't be obese. Laws of the plasma. So with the second question, we came to understand that we can feed you because you stop taking physical food. This goes back into the program which we put so much. You can sign in and we feed you for life for a whole year. You don't need to. It's one of the policies we put out to come out. Because we know now by creating celerity, we can get you to eat as much as you need, but the body takes what it needs. And the most interesting part of this was question number 3. Have you felt better overall in the following week? 83% are happy or satisfied. Which means man can move away from killing. Which means by combination of the food, by variation of the energy every week, even 3-4 times a day on the program of the system, we can satisfy all your needs. And you feel better because you're not killing anymore. You don't have to have worries. Where is the next food comes from? I have a headphone on my head. I get the food I need. I feel better for it. And we went to the beginning of the system. Do they feel more energetic? And 77% say yes. If you notice, the figure sits around 17, 80. We always have that 10, 20% we cannot reach the first time. But the ones we reach is complete. We had people who come to the system say it doesn't work for me. And we know why it doesn't work. And in the long run, it will take time. When we nano-coat a wire in a house, not all the wires get nano-coated at the same time, the same strength. Step by step, you tune it till it's done. So in a way, when they feel more energetic, it means they're taking the energy they need. Transfer of energy through plasma. What was interesting for us was question number 5. Have you lost any weight from the time of the session started? 1/3 of people have lost weight. And we expected this. Because it means you don't eat what you don't need. You're taking what you need from the system. So in a way, you have not gone on a diet, you have well fed, but 33% of you in 2 weeks, some lost 1 kilo, some lost 2 kilos, some lost 3 kilos. We have in trials people who lost 12 kilos, 10 and 12 kilos within 8 weeks. And we have, using this, the structure of the plasma communication from the system. But we have people in China and other places where they went on the liquid take of plasma, they have lost 20, 30 kilos. And it stabilizes after 3 or 4 months because that comes what it needs. But question number 6 is a very tricky one. But you have to understand what the trick is with it. It says, have you felt more the feeding to feed without killing another life? And we see the balance tilts to 80%. Man going into a butcher shop, man going into a shop to buy grains, subconsciously is not happy with what he does because it's another life in the fridge. It's another life on the shelf. But he, to survive, has blocked this one out. When you block it out, you don't want to know it's just there because I have to do it to survive. Now, with this understanding, it means I don't need to kill. I'm more happy. The energy comes from where I can take the plasma energy without killing. And that was the whole purpose, to see if the man changes habit. If the man gradually, if we start feeling it, will come to this point. And would it become calm? Would he become a man of peace? Would he gradually accept that he can survive without killing? We created a generation of vegetarian by convincing that the vegetables have no life, seeds have no life. We eat them because we are not slaughtering the neck of a sheep or a lamb or a cow, but we put a celery on the board and we chop it to pieces. At least with the lamb, we slaughter with one go. With the celery, we chop every part of the life of it to pieces. This is the way we have been brought to accept this life not worth counting for. And man cannot do that in space. Every count of life is counted for by the plasmatic fields of its existence. It doesn't matter if it's green, yellow, orange, walks, talks, bears, cows, whatever it does. This question number 6 was crucial to us, that man is ready to move away from killing. Man is ready to walk away from taking another life, and he feels good about it. 20% have no feeling, they don't connect to the system. We have a full statistic of how you have voted in every question, every single one of you. We have the data on, analyzing if it's the same people answering the same questions the same way. Interesting part of this question, after the nearly 4.5 hours of the deliberation and sharing testimonials, was, have you learned anything about yourself? Has it brought you closer to know yourself? And we see 93% of the people say yes. Means we are ready to explore another dimension in our lives. We are ready to understand that there is another way. I can have energy, I can feel better, I don't have to kill for it. And okay, if you've got a body that you're worried about it, I can lose weight as well. That brings me another satisfaction. And it brings me to the point of understanding me, myself more. But this has a very, very fundamental question mark in front of it. If we provide you the food online, we provide you the necessities for the wellness of your body online, would you get cancer? Because now, in knowing yourself better, emotionally you are more stable. Would we see any more the extent and the number of psychosomatic illnesses we see? Or would we see a long life without pain? Because don't forget, at a point when you know more about yourself, you are more happy about your condition, the more illnesses you pick up, the more disbalances in the structure of physicality you create, you call illness. And if you learn it, it helps you. If it's just there because it happens, it's just another noise and the distance tools. The most important question for us, which was the totality of the whole research or this exercise, was, would you give up or share your soul for another soul to live, elevate, exist, become higher than your soul? A couple of people did not understand the question when he went through. If we would have put those in, we would have gone to about 95%. And this is the attributes of Creator. To give unconditionally, even if it means others become better than me. In the level of the soul of the man, there is no jealousy, there is no hierarchy. In the world of physicality, jealousy is a backbone of existence of many people, most of crimes. And this shows mankind is ready to become man of universe. Take the pains of physicality from me. I am there to give unconditionally. We see the white light, we see the freedom when we enter the kingdom of the Creator at the point of the departure from physicality, we call that. Because everything else for our existence is provided from the fields of His existence. We don't have restaurants and cafeterias in the universe for people to come and eat. We don't have hospitals, we have no prisons, and we have no mental institutes. We have no fuel station, and for sure there are no Arabs to open all wells of soul. Now you understand what we brought you in as dining with the Creator was, in fact, understanding the essence of the soul of the Creator, which is you, and how much the mankind is ready to move on. If we put the same questions to the world leaders tomorrow, do you think they'll give up the seat of presidency, ambassadorship, and kingship for the others to exist? Or have they become a special breed of selfish, totally selfish people? Change anything as long as I'm called the boss. As long as I can bend the rule for me, for others to listen and become, call it the power. There is no house of power, there is no parliament, and there is no senate, and there are no judges in the universe for you to become the king and senator of the earth. It will be interesting to see when we have a number of world leaders tomorrow and ambassadors and religious leaders with us in the session. You will not know them, and for security reasons we disguise them. But amongst you tomorrow will be world leaders, the soul of world leaders, and some of the religious leaders. And we shall see. As I said in a very, very recent talk in the past few days, it's just about to come to what I call head-on conclusion. We see the unification of the churches and the mosques, unification of religious groups in different parts of Western Europe, where rabbis try to talk to the priests and the Muslims and the rest. What the Keshe Foundation has called for in the past few days, and now we bring it to open, is that we have requested and we have asked, and the Keshe Foundation will bring in the first meeting of the world religious leaders. We have kicked this into process, and it'll take us a few months to reach, where we have asked, with the present situation which is risen in Middle East with Iran, and upcoming meetings and opening of the embassies in different places within different nationalities, the meeting of the world religious leaders in the house of Temple of Mitra in Iran. We have asked for the head of Zoroastrian in Iran to attend the meeting. We asked for the two heads of the Jewish religion, which each one takes 6 months ruling in Israel, to attend to the temple. We asked for the head of Islamic world of Shia, Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, to attend, the same as the head of the Sunni sect of Islam. The two heads of Vatican and Church of England, the representative of Baha'i faith in Haifa in Israel, the head of Buddhist, Taoism, Sikhs and Hindus, to meet in the Temple of Mitra, where the original religion of man started. And see if amongst them they find a common denominator as Mitra, and amongst them they find that the religions have no space to be different but the path to the Creator. If the way we bring the head of top 20 power generators of the economy, or G7 and G9, see if we can bring the 12 R's, the religions together, the 12 disciples, and see how they interact, and with them bring other sects of their own path. And shall we see if Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran stands ahead of Pope from Vatican? Would the highest man in the temples of Buddhism sees himself higher than the others? Or would we bring the unification of the religions, and would the whole structure accept to meet with their Creator? Come from the religious leaders, in a way, the heads, not just delegations. Would it bring the change in the dimension of humanity? Tomorrow, we'll summon some of these religious leaders, as they are in power of the corridors of the power as the heads of their own state, into this meeting. You'll have ambassadors amongst you in the meeting tomorrow. We have done our best to cover our people in a way for reasons that will be explained in the future. So in the meeting with the world leaders, to laying out the terms of peace by you and by Universal Council is the cornerstone of the meeting of tomorrow. We'll leave the lines open for you to be answered by the world leaders and the ambassadors online. We leave it to see how you feel. And we don't want to see your vision. We want to see your demand. What is your demand from world leaders? And we are not looking for a solution as we walk through the soul of the man. The way we fed you with food and you feel energetic, will feed you with the powers of the corridor of life in the universe. As the session is part of the universal connection with the human race, as the leaders of the world will be there to attend, we have invited the Universal Council members to be present. To establish the first links between the universal community and the leaders of this planet in the true essence of what we call interaction. It'll be interesting to see how the wishes of you as only man of this planet will become the structure of the life of your leaders. It'll be interesting to see how you feel when you address these so-called world leaders. And there are some of the surprises in the meeting tomorrow, which will bring it to you as usual, and we'll see how you react. And we'll see what will be the outcome of your wish in the coming time. As we know, this week has been what I call a beautiful week for peace policy. And we've seen President Xi of China in Moscow as part of the bigger plan of China for taking leadership on the ethos of the Chinese structure. Very much on the basis of Taoism and understanding the process that this nation works and how the Chinese leader will assert his leadership as a leader of peace and more than anything else. As I said to one of our knowledge seekers in the past few days, nobody will benefit by the Ukrainian war, which is created, than China. The Western capital and expertise is not there to, in a way, feed back some billions of dollars in Ukraine for guarantee for supply of grain for Chinese. That the policy of the Silk Road of the President Xi and the massive construction companies sitting in China, that they'll be given opportunities to rebuild Ukraine. President Xi plays two cards. One is the peace, which is his main target. But with it, and he's the most nationalist person I've ever known, bringing massive contracts. The construction of a Western nation, payment by grain, is what sits in the back of the negotiations. Reconstruction, and this will bring 10 years of work for Chinese construction companies. But with it shows another side. Making peace is profitable. Making war feeds a few. In the upcoming time, and in the process that we are involved in, and as some of our knowledge seekers know, we'll bring this process to a full understanding in the coming months, where China does not need to do anything but just to be in the banner of peace and peacemaking to feed this nation. In the 8 questions we showed you, it shows we can feed the nation without a single grain ever being harvested. The most remotest people in the most remotest corners of the China will receive the same health care, wellness care as the ones in the richest hospitals in Beijing. They're all set and put a headphone on. There is no exclusivity in man being healthy anymore. And in that process, we have established the understanding that what was going to happen with all these farmers, what is going to happen with all these agricultural policies and the worst man ever made, when you can feed the man, as you have seen in the survey of today, that they don't even need to eat. In the coming weeks, we establish this structure of feeding man on a continuous basis, 24 hours a day. You can come and eat on the table of the Keshe Foundation. And you don't need to kill. You don't need to destroy another life. We go to restaurants to sit and chat, but nothing on the table. In the upcoming time, we release the knowledge that man can do what will be very soon impossibilities. In advance of my trip to China, we'll make sure China as a nation will start building colonies on Moon and Mars in next 2 years. Long-term home with hundreds of citizens to live on Moon and on Mars and any other position which the Chinese leadership decides. Colonization of a space with what we've shown you today is 100% guaranteed. The knowledge will be transferred to the Chinese leadership to start the process of what we call excursion into space. Long-term excursion. We have to give a solution to the governments to what to do with so many highly intellectual people going on the line, getting fed, going on the line, receiving health, going on the line, being entertained in the new dimensions of plasma technology, that they will take the next step to bring that into operation. The alternative is to shelve the technology till man is ready, and man will never be ready. In the technology which will be delivered to the Chinese government in the coming weeks will allow China to surpass the American space technology by hundreds of years. We have found partner in peace, and we set out to make sure it happens. We'll transfer technologies which will be developed by the Chinese directly in the next 2 years. That colonization will not be sitting and waiting for a rocket to have fire on his backside, that he gets to the moon one day and carries a few spoons as a metals, otherwise there's too much payload. We have shown we can feed people as you have seen, and keep them satisfied and happy, and the rest of it will come with it. And in that process, we set out the process of what we call heading to space. One of the questions for the world leaders tomorrow will be, are you going to open a mosque, a church on the moon, on the Mars, or do we end with this hypocrisy? Don't forget, they have to travel through the soul. When they travel through the soul, would they accept what I call hypocrisy of the religions? How can you take a priest from earth to moon through his soul, and then he still believes in reincarnation, where he reincarnates himself the same way? You understand, science and technology will end up to be what I call the last leg of the religions to exist. We don't fight it. We give it the knowledge that itself by itself dies by itself. We cannot say Muslims don't go to the moon. We cannot say Muslims don't go to the Mars. We cannot say blacks, whites are any different, as the soul has no color. Then we understand where we appear in the essence of what we feel to be happy with. What is contentment for our soul? We transfer so much technology and advanced technology to the government of China that it brings forces world peace in the next 2 years. And it brings for the Chinese leadership to enforce the path of peace with the rest of the nations. Gun policy brought nothing but pain. Peace policy brings nothing but joy. And that will be our target. And in that process, delivering a technology which can change the course of humanity to become content has been proven in the statistics of today. They're more content, and they're happy with what they have, and they don't need to kill for. It is what I call the time for change. And the change comes by example, and the change comes by understanding. Would we be able, in the meeting of today and in the meeting of tomorrow with the world leaders, come out in the following weeks and say we are happy with what we achieved? This time you're satisfied and you felt good and brought you joy, and you learned about yourself with the table of food. I wonder how you will feel on the table of peace with the world leaders. On the same way, after tomorrow's session, we randomly, different hours of the day, will switch the meeting of the world leaders open every day. That you, as citizens, can meet with them. Before was always between 4 and 7. Some people was middle of the night, some people was middle of the day. We will leave a line in the random manner, which we do not what we call announce in advance, open on the table. That you do not need to commit to bring that request and the demand for peace, but it becomes part of the life that your soul will extend to the others. You will understand the reason for this in the coming time. We will announce what hour the system will be open, for how long. And the most important thing is that you have made the what we call transition connection through your soul with the world leaders. Not there to demand, not there to serve, but be equal that my wish to create a world peace is as good as yours, President Xi of China, Mr. Biden of the United States, or Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, or any other religious leader. We demand peace, but this time through our soul. So we elevate you to understand our soul. This time is not the word of mouth, it's through the soul of the man. We didn't feed you with a spoon or a fork in past 2 weeks. You fed yourself and you shared yourself with the soul. And this is what is going to be in the next coming weeks. We don't announce the hour that at this time will be if you want to come, because then the world leaders escape not to be there at that hour, because they know they're going to be touched. In the session of tomorrow, those of you who attend will understand you bring the change which for generations man has been waiting for. We started a spring this week, and with it we bring the spring of peace, but offering an alternative to it, not just to be there for it. When you speak about peace, it means you have to create jobs that the governments can sell. We offer space as colonization for man to the governments who take the path. Extension of life beyond Earth. Rapid development, be it in the dimension of the soul or dimension of physicality, for citizens of the Earth to transfer, transmute, and transport things across the universe. If we do not offer the alternative, we are just another talking box. We take enough with us to show enough to those who are the peacemakers. The mankind calls 85 million barrels of oil a day sucked out of the depth of this planet a money-making machine for those who control. This planet is bleeding black. And there is a limit to this bleeding. One day it'll collapse. By introduction of new energy systems, the bleeding of the earth will stop. Technologies will be delivered to Chinese government that make sure China will be one of the first nations which will not allow the bleeding of the earth. We deliver enough technologies which are not still revealed to mankind to the Chinese government as one of the largest and most powerful nations to enforce, to bring, and through the ethos of Taoism, to bring that point of need to an end, but makes it point of pleasure for man to live. My needs, my request to all leaders is very straightforward, and we can deliver it and we can demand it. But is you in the meeting of tomorrow and the coming days to understand you stand shoulder to shoulder equal to any world leader. And as we always said, my wish is my command. And you command your soul, and that's the kingdom of man. And no one can touch it. And question 8 answers you for all the meeting of tomorrow. Would you give up or share your soul for another soul to live? Elevate, exist, become higher than yours. And that's a bigger leadership than anything ever to any man has been offered. And we are there to facilitate. We are not there to create. The creator of the change is you. We are there to give you the facility to access the world leaders. And we have brought with us the Universal Council members, which tomorrow they will understand their new position and their new responsibility and what they need to do. They'll be enlightened according to their understanding, and they will understand what needs to be done to be in that position. Now you understand today's teaching was planned weeks and months ago, that we are ready for the change. You see the results of your own work, your own feeding your soul and your physicality. And we'll see tomorrow what changes mankind will bring from man himself through the soul, and not through revolution, marching on the streets of Paris, drumming the justice, claiming to be no different on the streets of Tel Aviv, and no killing of children on the streets of Tehran for a piece of cloth on their head. We'll see how you, as the new leaders, through the strength of the soul, will lead the humanity to where it should be. In the coming sessions of starting tomorrow, you will see a new breed of leadership through the sharing of the soul. And that we can give more, will bring more to be changed towards that direction. And whatever happens from tomorrow is not coincidental. And it hasn't been coincidental for past years. But remember one thing, be humble, even at the point that you think you can bring that influence and that change. Learn from me and don't be attached to no physicality. I hope you understood the teaching of today, and I hope what you saw, some 80 of you been through, and many of you would have been more of you to be there, understand from what is to come and understand what you have triggered to become. I hope we have managed to share enough that you learn how to share your souls as much as we do with you. Thank you very much. And we stay, come back for any point of discussion or anything else you need to know. And we have a couple of announcements. Will be what I call big change for Keshe Foundation and huge change for many of you. If we can go for a small break and we come back, and then we answer any questions and a few announcements we need to make.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Okay, we'll have a couple of commercial messages here and be back shortly.
Water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer. Be pure like the water.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit is due to be launched in June 2022. and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
Okay, welcome back to our 478th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, March 23rd, 2023. This is the second part of the show, and usually Mr. Keshe takes questions from people. And I'll remind our attendees here in the Zoom chat that you can put up your virtual hand and we can recognize you and open your microphone. Okay, Mr. Keshe, are you ready to begin?
Yes, I was just listening to the last commercial you put on. It says by June 2022, we'll take transportation and transmutation. Once we started doing in June the transmutation and people went to the moon and went to fly into space and went home, trying to do the transportation became much harder than we thought, because now that we have the technology that we can go in a few seconds, why should we go back to do it for hours or whatever? And the fulfillment transmutation that many of you came to the center, and many of you now, you will understand in the coming time, you'll do it in a mass, the same as you did with the food. Doesn't make transportation so interesting. And in one of the sessions tomorrow, you will understand what it'll mean to try, if we get arranged to be doing it, the transmutation will be. I'm working on it, and if we get it all right, tomorrow you'll have, those of you attending will have a very interesting surprise for you laid out. One of the things that will happen tomorrow, you will understand that there is no need for transportation. And transmutation will bring that point to us in a much, much faster way. The people who attend tomorrow's meeting, you'll be given certain instructions. Please follow the instructions, and there are a number of lines which will be set up. Please do not try to communicate in the background, in the chats, under no circumstances. You will understand the reasons, and we'll explain this as we progress with this situation tomorrow. As I said, there are a number of announcements which we would like to make. First of all, many of you have been waiting for or been requesting if the cups will be returned. The ceramic cups have been relaunched back into the Keshe Foundation from next week or so. So you can place your orders for the pressure cups and the others. We have 4 new selection of paintings from our original painters of the Ganses, which will be released this week or next week to be added to the collection. These are again the Ganses which are commissioned by the Keshe Foundation, and the material chosen by us to be what it's going to be. We had a very interesting response with and results with NIGANs. We will launch the second batch of these, and hopefully with the last time we'll launch this. Second batch will be put in position as the first batch is already finished. But please don't forget to send back as much information as you can to us that we can set it out correct way, that we have the right information for what we are doing. We are receiving a number of bookings for the addiction for the next month. We might change the date of the meeting to the 29th and 23rd due to things which are about to happen, and we will not be able to what we call bring on 23rd the program through. It'll be done on a Friday of that week. That will keep the same tradition going. There has been a massive change in the structure of the work of our doctors in a way due to advancement and the results we have seen through the same first cycle of what we went through with our doctors, with using the what we call the understanding of new technology, and due to the sponsorship and support we have received by an international organization in the background with the Keshe Foundation. The Keshe Foundation has made that clear. We have to be able to sustain this. That about 100 what we call wellness volunteers can apply for any condition. The people we talk to, they are not satisfied with a number of cases which has been done. They say the numbers is not big enough. And the spread of the work of your doctors has to spread, that it shows technology applies to all applications. For this reason, 100 new cases, anything which has no genetic deformation, no what we call prosthesis, you don't have anything like heart transplant or shoulders or whatever, the sponsors will cover the cost with us. That we will see that the doctors will be able to sustain the first 100 cases, can be anything, but it has to be done in a way that we can complete it very rapidly, that they give us 6 weeks to gather the answer. They cover most of the expenses. The knowledge seekers, for any reason, it cannot be, we will be informing you yes or no, if the big cases comes up, if you can accept or not. The fee to be paid for this to the doctors you work with is 3,000 euro, any condition. And the process can start very rapidly. 100 cases, we have received subsidy or support to show the full spectrum of what our doctors can do. So somebody's microphone is open. If you have any wellness condition, and the first 100, we close this very rapidly. Cases will be looked at, accepted to be completed within the next few days. We'll take up a 6-week session to see how effective this new plasma technology with our doctors is, and how spreading and how much we can spread it. Can it do wounds? Can we do nerve damage? Can it do whatever? This does not apply that you come in and say, you said 3,000. We have to see what it is and the conditions and acceptable to us to do. And it's for a 5 or 6 week session. We collect the data the way we done with like the food we done. So if you suffer from any condition that you think our doctors will be interested, will be looking at it and respond very rapidly. Within 24 hours, 48 hours, you get the response and the rest comes with it, or you get response from our doctors, not from us. In the success of what we've seen with the health section of the what we call satisfaction of the soul, we saw in the statistics we've seen, very soon we will endeavor for working only a session or section of what we call mental effects. Many of you, we have many people, the doctors ask us that they have a mental condition. A section will be allocated for this in an upcoming time. The same has to do with what we call addiction. There is a plan for a day for the children. How to teach our children to become the children of the space. And how to be prepared for the next cycle. These sessions can only be held when there is one parent accompanying the child. These sessions are not just put for children. You have to have what we call one of the parents to be present during the session. And this will come somewhere in June. We'll announce this in time. This is how to teach our children to become children of space, what it needs to be, and what it has to be, and how the parents with them will guide them. If both parents want to join with their child, there is no problem. The session of creating children of space comes with a lot of understanding that they understand, they are more receptive to understand the knowledge and the technology which goes behind it. So what we are announcing is what is upcoming. One of our main interests is this 100 case. Any condition you have, you suffered from anything, go through the usual channel. The doctors will get in touch with you and we proceed to the next step. We have an announcement for a position which the Keshe Foundation is opening for June, July of this year. We are looking for 7 to 10 doctors who have a good command of psychology and a good command of what we call medical applications as a general practitioner even. These doctors will be paid a fixed salary. We need a doctor in each languages because in the trials done, we see one of the problems has been the language barrier. Spanish, French, Portuguese, Chinese, Arabic. We need doctors, full-time work with the Keshe Foundation. And if you are one of those who can work full-time on this basis, then send your request and the rest will be detailed to you how it is as we see the process expanding and upward. And if there is such a position available you can support, it will be appreciated by the foundation. As I said, one of the main things we want to push ahead, it could be anything from eye defect to emotional to whatever. If they do not come back, we've seen people coming with 10 illnesses, I have this. We would not interested. Because whatever you fix, there is something else. We would like individual cases, or maximum two, that our doctors can handle. We can show to our supporters, the backers, that it's not just with a few things. We are gathering testimonials from the people who been in the first cycle with the doctors, what they've seen, what they've seen, and we have started seeing that the doctors are discharging the volunteers who came in because they have achieved what they came, and some achieved more than what they came in for. And so we are allowing them to, or we're releasing them on to the next step. But they know if anything comes back, they can come back in to receive the support, because most of these cases is a long term, and then other bits which is hidden come up and it gets sorted. So if you have any condition, last time we were given a few days. With the sponsor this time, we have taken time. We have a week or whatever. Any condition you thought it cannot be in the, from a joint pain to whatever, we would like to look at. Send anything, send it to our doctors. On acceptance, then we're given the time by doctors when and how. And it's the reason we put the small amount on it, because if when we don't do this, we get a lot of problems. People think it's their right to get whatever. So this allows us to at least keep everything together. It's 100 cases, and that will stop at that point. And it's not that I paid so much for this, so much for that. We don't look at it. This has a sponsorship behind it, and we'll go back to the same structure. And then we see if this can be applied and we can sustain it, we can show it can cover a bigger spectrum. Then we go with the agreement we have with our people to 1,000 cases next year or the year after, because it needs a lot of planning and structure to be put on. Any questions that we might be able to share, answer with each other? By the way, when you send your request, you put the 100 case trial test. We send it to the doctors for it. Are there any questions?
Okay. We have a question from the YouTube from Antonio, who says, Mr. Keshe, in tomorrow's meeting with the world leaders, are the UCs, that's the Universal Council members, invited? And will it be the same link as the lunch with the creator?
We use the same link for all our meetings. It's just that people cannot come in because people who have registered, according to their emails, they'll be given access. Universal Council members, according to the email which they have for the language they have, they've already been locked into this. It's not for the supporters of Universal Council. Universal Council members, you just join in as a usual, you join a webinar as a Zoom session.
Right. He actually asked as Universal Council support. I see it has the S there. So
support, no. But Universal Council members, as I know, their emails has already been locked in yesterday into the system or today.
And the support members are just like the regular participants.
Yes.
Okay.
We have a usual group, team of people which are there, like Rick and the translators, and what we call the head of our groups, like Yusuf, Raphael, and others, like Dr. Barapur from China, Wang Lin, and a couple of Chinese doctors in the background who are given that part of the regular team. But the rest are what we call registration. We have the emails, and you can come in, but if your name is not set according to registration, it's not admissible.
Okay, and Ike had a question for what's the link to reached the doctors at the Keshe Foundation regarding the 100 trial cases. Would that be the doctors at spaceshipinstitute.org? Hello, Mr. Keshe, we're not hearing you there. I think your microphone is off.
Sorry, I had to complete something. The answer to you is health at the spaceshipinstitute.org. Health at spaceshipinstitute.org.
Okay, thank you.
For every case we accept for this, the funding has to be accepted by the sponsors.
And if a doctor would like to participate in what you were saying there lately, would they apply at the doctors at spaceshipinstitute.org? Is that the
Use the
email
health
for doctors?
name, the
Health,
fastest.
okay.
Yeah. Because the doctors take responsibility for all these cases. It's their patients. And they get advice how to whatever.
Okay, good.
If you can imagine or understand, this is the beginning of a general health cover of the Keshe Foundation to come. If you look at the policies we put for a family person, and then the food and the rest of it, this is part of beginning of that structure which we announced weeks ago. Now these are the beginning trials of setting up a massive structure for hundreds of thousands of people to be able to use the system.
Okay, and we had a question in the Q&A about the address of the Keshe Foundation in Linz from Lissy. Can't find it anywhere. Is that something that we can release?
The address, yes, is common. It's strange people are coming from. I was in the center yesterday morning for a meeting, and out of nowhere there were 3 Brazilians who came all the way from Brazil, and they came to the center. It's a long way to come. We used to get Japanese and the Koreans, and it was without any announcement. They came, as we said, it's your home, but try to understand the things happening in the background. And the address is what you call known to the people who come, because what do you call it? Mario always disperses the name, the address, everything else. But we would like you to announce when you're coming in, because there are tours which are taking place on a regular basis in the center. Sometimes we do tests, sometimes there are other things which is happening. You better get in touch with the center before you try to come in. At least it gives us a chance to be there. At least you don't come in and wander around. It takes Mario around 2-3 hours for one tour on the top floor. Because it's not just coming and look at things. He explains everything into detail. Everything, the knowledge, the essence of the things you see. But the space, what we call floor downstairs, is not open to public. And we run tests continuously in different parts of the structure. Even today, there's some tests run on 2-3 tests run on different things downstairs, where upstairs we cannot. The address of the center is a public knowledge. and is the registered address of the what we call the exhibition center. I put it on the chat, but please just don't turn up because you have the address. Turn up that you already pre-agreed to come in, that you just don't come and get disappointed. This is the address of the center in Linz, of the exhibition center. Just, I received a notice somewhere in the background from our team. Let me see what they're saying. Yes, it's the same. And this is the, get in touch with the doctors of the Keshe Foundation for their contracts. The address has been put above. health@spaceship.org. We had a case we had a look at with our doctors this week. Knowledge seeker with a child with heart transplant, and we told them it cannot be done. You have to understand you're dealing with plasma, and two structures are different from each other when you have a transplant. And interaction or interconnection between the two different structures is not like the heart and the lung. This is another tissue from somewhere else, which is not exact match. It can create all sorts of things, rejection and the rest of it. So if you have a transplant at this moment of time, the knowledge and the structure of our system is not that far to be able to bypass. And so if you have that kind of things, please, before a transplant, our doctors can have a look at it. But after the transplant, it become at this moment even knowledge not acceptable to be able to support. Any questions?
A couple of other medical questions here. Does the offer also apply to cancer cases?
Send your request. It's a 5-week trial. We stop after 5 weeks. And yes, it can be done. But it depends on the decision of the doctors, not us. We go through it. This 100 cases by the doctors will be very rapidly filled up.
And how about hip problems with cartilage? People that need a hip replacement, but perhaps haven't had one yet. I know you've mentioned that if people have had like a titanium or other hip replacement, then you wouldn't be able to treat them, is the way I understand it.
We don't treat, we process. Secondly, the doctors decide on that one. We have seen very good results with the hip damage and the others. It can be considered. And I repeat again, it's a 5-week session, not a long-term session. We want to understand how fast the structure can move and what it can be given. So it's, if you, I don't see any reason why hip is anything else. Don't forget, we have developed techniques now, which is in past 6 months, 8 months, in reaching, targeting, and developing fast results or outcomes. And it's just techniques. How much more the doctors will add to application of techniques, the more they understand. What we're very interested is like how will we need a bigger data on like the eye positions and the damages to eyes, physical damages to the eyes, how much we can do. Deep wounds we want to look into. If you have the deep wounds, and or I was talking to one of our so council members to and a specialist in skin burn and grafting and replacing or extending amputations. We are looking at these things. If you had a bad burn on the skin, and we would like to see how the plasma technology interacts with it, and then the doctors know what to do. You have wounds which have been there, painful, whatever, for years. You want to see, the doctors will look at it. We have provided up the knowledge to the doctors, and they decide how to go. And in a way, the doctor which will accept you will take you through the process. And they know and are backed by a lot of knowledge what to do. If you had or if you have a wound which has not healed for a long, long time, we would like to understand how this will interact. Would it be able to? We want to expand with this sponsorship a broader spectrum of the knowledge. If you look at it in a world of pharmacy, this is what I do. They test one thing and then to the next, and then bigger numbers to add the data. And we are going through the same process, but nobody can affect our data. And we ask for people to give testimonials and how things go. It's a learning process for the foundation, and our doctors will support you to that way. The good thing with this is a lot of knowledge is getting centralized and it's access to everyone. So no pharmaceutical, nobody can claim to it. It's a public structure knowledge. It becomes part of the bigger structure that if we get our ways, we can do a lot. I would love to, if we would, due to the situation we are in, like in Syria, there are a lot of people, the West, who calls himself civilized, gave everything to the imaginary line of the border, the Turkish side. The Syrians have nothing, and they died the same blood. And this to me is wrong. And we tried to break into, we went to negotiation with the government, with the ambassadors, but the first thing they asked us, how much money is it in for us? We would like to, when we come to a situation like the earthquake in Syria, we offer to Syrian government officials, just anybody who has a headphone can get the process. We negotiated long with the ambassador and to them through the government, but it's amazing how corrupt they are. And this is what we want to do. These trials are basis for this to come, plus what we develop in the space technology. how much we can affect different conditions, and tolerating it, understanding it, and developing it is part of that builder structure which is coming. We are literally destroying the foundation of knowledge control by patent, by fraud, as we've seen, and deception in the COVID injections and the rest of it, and all the hypocrisy which went around it. And you're those who are building it. And we have not signed any non-disclosure secrecy acts with any of the doctors who work with us. What you bring in, like the data we saw in the dining with the creator, is all in public. We put it in, but we know what we are looking for, what we can get. The other organization take it up different way. Nobody shares knowledge the way we do. And long run will win, because when the knowledge is public, nobody can hide it and everybody can benefit by it. Any other question?
There's a question also about neurological problems or brain issues. And I suggested they could write to the doctors at Health at Spaceship Institute.
Right to say everything to health. Don't write to doctors. Write everything to the health is controlled from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what we cover initially is massive knowledge base technology. We are literally handing over years and years of research and development freely in the hand of the doctors for them to do. We saw what we did with the doctor in America. I spent hours and hours and weeks teaching this doctor, and when he thought he's learned everything, whatever, he went with the Russians. But we'll see what will be the outcome of it for them. They gained none, because by the time they thought they got something, the technology for them was already obsolete. The technology we delivered to China will baffle the West. How they did not go where the technology was in the West so much. And even the technology we take to China with us is not what will be delivered to Chinese. The condition has to be that there is no position for war to be, that the peace is the only option. And I'll make my point. I made my point to the Chinese very, very clear. I had a very in-depth talk with the Chinese officials today, and I made that very, very clear where we stand, what is going to be, and what we expect of them. You had a question.
We have a hand up here with Roseanne. Roseanne, would you like to go ahead, please?
Sure, thank you. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Hello, Rick. First of all, I'm looking forward to the upcoming change, and thanks for all the efforts. I had this question for a long time, but because of the time of the meeting, I wasn't able to reach you, Mr. Keshe. And this is like 2 years, about 2 years ago, I made CH3 GANs, and I got a black liquid in the container, which I don't know what it is. And I heard that in one of the workshops you mentioned that it is the black matter is deuterium, and the orange liquid stays on top, and the black liquid stays at the bottom. It's like for 2 years staying there, and I really don't know what to do with. If it's deuterium or else. At the beginning, it was like greenish, dark greenish color, and then it turned to black color. It's in liquid form. So
what's
I'm
the
not sure.
space gap between the bottom and the top, the full amount, or is it sporadic? Are they moving from top to the bottom, or is it totally clear separation? Nothing is moving from the top to the bottom.
No, it's totally separated. I have the picture, but I don't know how to share it.
This is the way you use this. You put a syringe in and you take from the water in the middle.
The orange one or the black?
No, doesn't matter. Just there should be a clear water somewhere between the black and the orange.
I don't see that. Okay. Okay, maybe there is. I didn't pay attention.
If it is a total homogeneous, they're everywhere inside each other, the most likely you have created is deuterium or combination of the carbon, graphite, or in a way of graphene if you look for it. And your CH3 stands further out due to its gravitational magnetic field. When we make a mixture of CO2 and zinc, we get this as well, the separation. Till in energy balance, the one becomes balanced in energy with the other one. One of the best thing for you to do to see how you made the CH3, maybe your black material is deuterium, but iron based, is mainly iron. When you made the CH3, you consume the layer of the zinc faster then you reach the metal end. Get a magnet and put on next to the glass and try to pull it up to see if the black stuff gathers together like what do you call it, a magnet.
Okay.
And it creates a column. Then that is what we call partially deuterium and partially iron GaNs.
Should I put the magnet on the side because the liquid is at the bottom?
Yeah, the black side is at the bottom. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, just put the magnet on the bottom and just very slowly pull it up and see if you see the particle of the GaNs come to it as a column. Then you have created the iron GaNs and the deuterium together, and the CH3 on the top, the orange part.
So should I pull out with a syringe the liquid in the middle of the container?
If you can, it's a clear, no GaNs in it, because usually we see a full separation between the two, and you have a water in between. If you don't see it, it's most probably a very poor alloy, what do you call, galvanized metal you use to produce the CH3. A good coating, but the poor metal, the iron side, very low grade, which is very good for making what you call GaNs of iron and deuterium.
Yes, the metal was this. I bought it because of its shape. It's not chicken mesh. It's these parts sold in warehouses, home warehouses, and then it's like kind of hinges or those pieces that they use for the door. and it had a very like shiny bluish coating on it. I asked them, they said it's galvanized. That's why I bought it. And my husband said it's usually they are iron and they are galvanized with zinc. So that's why I bought it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if the iron inside is lower quality or very high carbon based, you get this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a problem. But if you can take the water from the orange part, you have the gas water of the zinc, or we call CH3, but with a lot of effects of iron in it. Because even they are in the, what you call the orange part in CH3 part, they still are connected to the field of the iron and the deuterium.
Should I separate the black liquid at the bottom in another container? Actually, I didn't touch it. After I saw this was produced, I didn't know what it was.
But you can do, but you see what separation would that create a clear water between the top and the bottom? Or would the orange will come and sit to the bottom of the material, to the container?
Okay, and then what can I do with this black matter?
A lot you can do. You can do a lot of things with this black matter. First of all, determine if it is what you call iron-based gas. 99% should be. When you pull it out, it's like iron dust will come to the magnet. Turn the magnet both ways. One on the north side, one on the south side. And you see how they gather. This will give you a very good indication of the field forces, what you have in your hand, what you want to use it for.
Okay. Still, I don't know. I will do that, but I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. I'll just keep it.
Do you have any CO2 GANs or a zinc GANs?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Just put the CO2 GANs or the zinc GANs next to the jar of this black stuff. And see if the CO2 pulls up in the column or the zinc pulls up in the column. Then this will give you a lot of, what do you call it, field interactions, what you can do with the black stuff. If you don't have a magnet, just put your CO2 gas and leave it for a few days and see if the gas gets pulled, the CO2 or gets pulled towards the black stuff and makes a column going up like a cloud, like a smoke.
Okay, I have that circle magnets I can use.
Yeah, you can use it. Let's see what it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a number of hands up here. Dean was first. I'd like to go ahead, Dean.
Thank you, Rick. Good evening, Mr. Keshe. Mr. Keshe, so I've been away for a few days, and I came across some people that I realized it's like I was introducing some of the technology and speaking about the dining with the creator and the processes behind this and what to experience. And for many people, this is when they first come across it, it sounds so far off from what they're used to, that you can see them, that many of them as a soul sort of, you can see that it's very difficult for them to accept, to understand it. So how does this relate to bringing this across to a nation and across to humanity in the times to come?
Very slowly.
Yeah, I've noticed this. Yes.
Yeah, slowly. You see, the good thing with it is that we had nearly 20 years of building a solid base than becoming a fashion. And thanks to the effort of the Belgium to take us off the newspapers, magazines, and internet and the rest of, not internet, what they call it, televisions and the rest of it. It allowed us to grow enough and solid enough, and uh, for many of you to gain knowledge. And so we wait and play the time, as they say.
I noticed,
So-
Mr. Keshe, a lot of it's to do with very strong beliefs as well. People have very, very strong beliefs, and to I noticed
Because
to get
not on
behind it.
television. It's not on television.
Yeah.
If we open a channel like what they call these social influencers, they call them nowadays on the internet, and I go on it like a rabbis teach about the soul, we'll hit millions, and then we become a cult. You understand?
I do.
So we can do that. We are looking at putting Keshe Foundation, certain part of it, on social media in a different way. But as long as we don't become a, what we call, it's become social media influencers, now it becomes against the religions, can become pharmaceutical. We don't need these kind of things. The more people learn, the more people go. And it has to be in a way of accepted by person. And when it's on television, they see it. Yes, it's there. Social influences influence very few people, but they're very good gimmicks for people to go and have a look and spend some time on. But this has to become a pattern of life, how we live, how we are. And this is where we are heading and where we are going to. And it's a matter of next step and next development, and how we open the door of knowledge the way it is. In past 6 months, I released so much information and technology, which is another part in different places, that literally makes all the things we taught in past 20 years obsolete. But it's not that they're obsolete. It's just because you understood the basis of it. Now the new technology will be accepted and be developed much easier, much faster. If, as I said at the beginning of today, if we would have told you we feed you with the microphone with 2 headsets on your head, you tell this to anybody and it's all a joke. But you have 80 of you who went through 2 weeks of it.
Yeah, I experienced many things, Mr. Keshe. I did. And over the last few days, I went into a situation where obviously people are still feeding, and they presented these meals, and I struggled. I was being very hospitable and want to be part of it. So I had, I felt obliged to eat. I didn't really need it, but so I asked for reduced amounts. But you soon get back into the habit, strangely. As soon as you start getting involved in the, the ambience of it, you fall back.
You get into the habit because, as I said in the past 2 weeks, if we supply you continuously, and in the morning you go to the headphone and you have your breakfast, lunchtime, you get your energy for lunch, which are habitual once a day. Do you eat when you're about to go sick from eating? You're full. I say, no, I can't eat. I've eaten. I'm not hungry. This is part of the bigger program which we have put into operation. If we can put 100 of you into a system that one meets the condition of the cancer, one meets the condition of the Alzheimer, one meets the condition of a wound, one meets the condition of a hunger, would your friends spend their money on something that nobody eats? because those who are invited have already been on their headphones. It's not going to be much now when this thing is released in a bigger scale, that the way you call for a takeaway, you dial a number and you have a pizza of your taste in the energy field, and you have the pizza and you pay a penny for it. Oh, I feel like a fish and chips as we come from England. You put the headphone on, there's an organization who has the feeling of exactly the taste you like, and you receive it. You become that cup and the orange. And how many of you will eat again when you're not hungry?
Mr. Keshe, just to let you know, so this group of people were very very aware, and they're a group of very active souls who would deal in a way on a soul level. And I'm trying to say this very gently. They're like people that are very aware of all the conditions around us, and are very sympathetic to trying to help many people and themselves by living a certain way.
But they still have to eat.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
They still
have community gardens and things that they feed from. So they're
yeah, but still have to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What would we do if you put tomatoes in the supermarket that all the people who go to the market have eaten, and take the taste they like from the tomato, exactly the taste they like from your headphone? Tomatoes won't sell on the supermarket. Now if you understand, I was reading things. Azar bombards me with messages every day, and now she's in Iran, and how she eats, or what she eats, what she takes, whatever. And what about if you it's unknown. Why do we eat different fruits? Because a fruit is like a lottery. Till we don't put it in our mouth, we don't know if it's sour, it's sweet, it's exactly the way we like it. The way you get energy of a strawberry with the plasma is exactly that you enjoy. The taste you like, or you expect it to taste. There's no cuts. Unless somewhere in your subconscious and structure of the soul, you want to taste bitterness or something there, because then it reminds you of the good. And if you receive exactly what you want as an energy with the taste of it, with the pleasure of it, then supermarkets become obsolete. When the East was open, I traveled to many what we call ex-communist countries. When you went to supermarkets, it was amazing. Shelf and shelf and shelves, up and down, top shelf, bottom shelf, was more or less the whole supermarket, maybe 20 different 2 kilos, 5 kilos, 10 kilos of the same product, because they didn't have the range of products. Limited. And when you go to a supermarket, you look at the depth of the goods on the shelf. A supermarket which is busy, goods are stacked, they just push it forward from the back, they put in the back, put the last one further to go in. And when you don't buy, then all become historical. Maybe if we carry on with the process of the food, what's going to happen? Then become a history, going to a supermarket for the items that it is not, cannot be the way You can make it, or you feel it, or you want to taste a new taste, what this will taste that I can produce in my own soul. Then we see change of structure of supermarket changes. I become Africa. Africa, when you go to a supermarket, some of the supermarkets have one item of each right at the front. In Europe, they don't know how much they can put more on the shelf to stack it higher and higher. And our supermarkets in the West will become like Africa because nobody buys. Maybe you buy a new taste to see, and then your soul reproduce that effect and emotion. This is what is to come. This is inevitable. It will happen. When we move people to the moon, to the Mars, there are no supermarkets. Unfortunately, you can imagine what's going to happen to a tin made on Earth in the gravitational magnetic field of the moon or the Mars or another position. It crumbles. Then in another position in the universe, the metal used is the field of the environment. It just becomes gas. All your tomatoes are on the floor.
Mr. Keshe, can I ask you a question? So,
Yeah.
for some people, especially some of the people I've been speaking with recently, they would not want to go to the moon or Mars. So, if this technology through the elevation and receiving the foods or any of the tools that we use, would they, as a soul, would they change? Would they become to an understanding that maybe they have a very fixed position, soul and physicality?
We always change. You know something? We have a very good saying, Farsi, in amazing what it means if you understand it. They say the cat can't reach the meat. It says it smells, stinks. You understand?
Yeah, sort of.
So we can't afford paying $250,000, 10 million, 5 million to other organizations to take us to the moon. So we don't think about it. It's not ours. But when it's freely done, it's available for you to go. You tell me how many people will say. But we had this situation in the trials. We had even one a few weeks ago. The lady says, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to see my husband.
It touches people, Mr. Keshe. When I speak about this, obviously, as I would do, I notice when I say certain things, you can see that it touches them on a physical level, but it touches them on a soul level. You can see it go much deeper, and I can see the different reactions as I say certain things to them. It's like a field strength where I can see the soul is aware and the soul of physicality is saying, no, I can't, I don't agree. However, I can sense that it's like all these teachings and all the informations. It's a gradual process, as you say, very slow process. And some of the knowledge is so profound and so touching that it's very hard for some to accept, even though they know on a much higher level that that it's possible, and they know it's the truth. It's something that's there.
Above you on the panel is Rosanna, who just spoke.
Yeah.
She's an Iranian woman, lives in Canada. And they say the understanding of the soul and the soul of physicality is like a Persian girls. They push you away from over the table, no, but they pull you with the leg underneath, yes. You understand?
Yeah, I've heard you say this one, Mr. Keshe.
The soul of the physicality pushes you. No, I can't accept it. It's impossible. Yeah, but the soul underneath says this is what it needs to be done. This is what I want. You understand?
I do, yeah, Mr. Keshe.
So because it's not fashionable. Once it becomes fashionable, everybody knows we knew it, but we couldn't speak about it. We couldn't do it. We didn't do it. We cannot do it. when I came to England in 1970s, it was very fashionable. It was something, if you had an Iranian guy as a friend or whatever. When I came as a teenager, the woman in Brighton took me to different houses of friends. I have a friend from Persia, they come in the rest. So it was something that we were like a Persian carpet, value it that way. And with one revolution, it became the worst thing. Now we're coming back into fashion to be Iranian. You will see it very soon, the way it's coming up. So people go by fashion, what's in the media, what they're told to be.
Yeah, that's very interesting, Mr. Keshe. That I totally agree with you there. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
So we do our groundwork. We do what we are to establish the knowledge complete, and when it's the time for it, it'll come out the way it has to. And to what extent you can change it, to what extent you can improve it, to what extent will bring change. Not everybody wants to go to the moon. None of us become communists. Everybody are marching straight away. In the machine we go. The beauty of it is you cannot send anybody to exile with this technology. There are no prisoners. You cannot build a planet like Australia, like English, to send all the prisoners to this island, Australia, the way they send all the convicts there. This time is the soul of the man. Has no conviction. He has never been convicted of anything. He chooses his own position. No leader can send no one to nowhere as a prisoner or an exile.
That's Mr. Keshe. That's very. So this opens up a huge thing with what's going on at the moment, and I know that like with tomorrow's meeting, this with the world leaders and the situations that we know are happening and are part of the structure, and the world leaders that are now coming to a position of understanding. And the ones that, as you said many times, would not walk into these systems. However, I sense that they are very aware that once this process starts, which it already has, then it will touch them at some point, and they will have to then, stand before themselves. And you've said it many times that it's the shame of the man if you've done some things that are wrong. That's the worst thing you can bear. And if you have to do that on a soul level, then this is going to be something that's more of a judgment than anything you could ever have from anybody else. It's your own commitment to yourself on a soul level, which I think will be very hard to bear for some.
We wait and see. We are not all the same. God is not communist, all the same school, same clothes, same dress.
Yeah.
The variety is the beauty. And we are a small part of the collection of the flowers of the Creator in the universe. We're just a speck of dust. There's so much beauty to see and learn from. We wonder, why did we choose the physicality to be here so long and not enjoy the rest of it?
That's because they enjoy the physicality so much, Mr. Keshe. That's
maybe the soul has bigger pleasures. No one knows.
Mm-hmm. So
no one.
What can we expect tomorrow? May I ask, Mr. Keshe, what can we expect? Can you open that up a bit more?
You can ask as much as you like. I keep my lips sealed.
And I can't ask anything then.
But we set things up months and months before, or we put it in different ways, ready for when it's there to harvest. And tomorrow is one of those days.
So you say to harvest, Mr. Keshe, yeah?
Yes, tomorrow is a very big harvest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So on a soul level, Mr. Keshe, the souls have obviously brought us all into these positions, and all souls have a unique beauty, a beauty of the creation. So we're all being positioned and coming together to bring about this change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I live long enough as a nomad. Let's see what I find in the tribe. Let's see what comes up.
Okay, thank you, Dean.
Thank you,
Mr.
Keshe. Thank you, Rick. Thank you.
Perhaps we can hear from Jefferson, then we have Imgard after that, and then Danilo.
Hello, Rick. Hello.
Hi, Jefferson, we hear you.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. It's always a honor and a happiness to talk to you all, to be with you all. And Mr. Keshe, I was reading one of your teachings, very direct, and when you mentioned that the world peace would be achieved when we don't have any children abuse, children smuggling, and drugs cartels controlling the drugs and the traffic of it. Because even though that we don't have the so-called wars with the bullets or guns, we still have this kind of abuse that's unbearable. And we know they are created and they are maintained through the many of religions, leaders or others. Is there any possibility in the future that we can include this? I don't know if it's a elevation, but it's a fact. The children are suffering. Many children are suffering so many problems in the future that we look at the new generations. They are so beautifully done. And I brought this through our group already in the daily intentions, this topic. Maybe we could include it in our daily intentions. And that's that I'd like to ask if is there any possibility that we can include this topic, because I think, and the way that I see it's so important.
What topic
for the world peace. Sorry, Mr.
You're talking about the child abuse? Or you're
Yes,
talking about... You see, child abuse...
drug trafficking.
You see, child abuse is... it's the way I've spoken about this before. They come in as to them as is their right. And everybody else, when you speak to a child abuser, it's and they see it as their right, and everybody else is wrong, and there's something wrong with you, and they cover it up in a very big way. That you don't see it, even you're in it, you don't see how they've set it up around you. And it's the way of life to them. They're brought in it, they're grown in it, they're part of it, and they carry it on with their children, and they see it as their right. And when it comes to child trafficking or human trafficking, is the same. If a person who's getting trafficked knows about the technology, knows about the knowledge of the soul transmutation, would they be able to go transfer his body or traffic his body? You understand? This is part of the education will come in, even with the drug trafficking or with the drugs, abuse of the drugs in every shape or form. Years ago, if you go to news, you find it back 20, 25 years ago. I used to be part of the British customs, and part of my companies were involved in this massive jobs. And they found a large number of bodies in one container in one of the ports in England. And as my companies were set up to receive all sorts of things through customs, I was called by the customs says that one of the things coming to you is this vehicle. What do you want to do with it? We want nothing to do with it because it was used for evidence in the courts and the rest of it. I said, just crush it. Just crush the whole thing into a crusher. The pain in that box, the pain in that what you call system, which brought these bodies to the end, I feel the feel of their souls in. I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to go through the books of my company. At the end, with the British Customs and government, we decided this contains going to be crushed. But how much money did they make out of this? And was the suffering of so many in a box worth it? What do we get with this knowledge? Would we come to the point that we can understand? You have access to a mobile phone, a child can move his soul and the physicality cannot be done, cannot be abused. And I brought my life to a big change because of this. But it took me time to set it out because it was woven into my life in a way I could never imagine. Because when you're in love, you don't see what the lover does to you. And you accept everything because that love is so important. Till your eyes you open up and you see why are all these things happening around me. And as you know, I made it very, very clear, especially recently, when you talk about the child abuse, when you talk about the child trafficking, the woman next to me, for years you thought she is, and now I see around, is coming from the most notorious pedophile organization, families in Belgium. Notorious. She was brought up in it, and she brought other children into it. She trained her son to abuse her sibling. And it was all okay. Her brother rapes young boys frequently. And so the police found the hand of an arm. All was hidden from me. And how we got involved, all these pedophiles around us, Red Circle, Sterling, and the rest, all brought in by her. To them, it's normal. Go to the village she comes from. They opened a pub called Charlie's Pub, and they trafficked children when the police raided in 1970s. She was put in custodial sentencing for bringing children, and there are other children on the list. When she comes into organization, she sells us server names and numbers and people who come in. 2 characters. I couldn't live with myself. It took me 2 years to get rid of this rot in the structure of the Keshe Foundation. And then she linked up with another well-known pedophile, as Jackie. He had to flee from Switzerland to Denmark for the police not to get the same as her brother did, escaping from Belgium to Thailand from the police. They bring their own people inside. When you're put into custodial sentencing in juvenile at the age of 13, you got to be well up in it. You got to be well up in it. Just go to the village of Zevenham and find out about this family in Belgium. The whole family has been into prison for child trafficking, for child abuse. People from South America have been found in the premises abusing children and sentenced and deported. I had to face this, and for it, find a solution for it. And then they say we were victim. A victim, yes, gone. Why your son, you taught your son to abuse her two siblings, that the father bans the child from coming ever to the house. When it's presented to us in a different way, we don't look at it, but when we sit out and we look at it, then we understand the truth. The woman next to me comes from the most notorious pedophile organization in the hand of the Belgian government together, because she has a thing. They used her to infiltrate and they brought people in with her, and she claims I'm innocent. Going to prison, sentenced into prison for being part of the biggest criminal organization thieving in Belgium. Sentenced with the ex-husband together. A lot was covered up in different ways we couldn't see. Ask where is Jackie? He's in Denmark, because police of Switzerland were after him. Because linked up with my ex. And they were watching what's happening. That's why Keshe Foundation became so, we saw one pedophile after, because the head of the snake was sitting next to me. At age of 13, sentenced into juvenile prisons for being part of the most notorious pedophile family in Flanders. Just go find newspapers, courts, police station. We don't tell lies. But they see it as their right. And we don't understand it. And I always looked at how we can escape these people, how we can release people from this pain. Now with this new technology, we can. You teach children that they can, from childhood, that's why we said we're bringing a child teaching, how to elevate your soul, that nobody can traffic your physicality. It'll come an end to it. A lot of you thought I just moved on. Took me 2 years from the Italian conference, second conference, when I found out what's happening around me. I set up, without damaging the foundation, to get rid of a snake. I can talk about it because the court case is finished. The whole structure is set up to deceive, and we are not. And it's no use finding how to not to traffic. Is to start educating the children how to use their soul for the physicality not to be trafficked. How come we can send man to the moon? How can so many of you went to the moon? How come we're bringing people from a state here, they can see whether, why can't we do that with our children to teach them from childhood? With this technology, I bring an end into child trafficking, human trafficking. Just give them a pair of mobile phones. When I realized after the Italian conference, when The head of a snake disappeared into another part of Europe for days. And then we found out, yes, it was connection, but Interpol informed me that the two snakes have met. They brought them into education of the Keshe Foundation. They brought them as the people who, what was it, free energy. Sterling used us to get marks. And I was wondering, how come these people always come to us? Now it's clear. A woman from childhood being involved in the most notorious family of pedophiles, bringing customers from South America and everywhere to Charlie's pub. Go and check. Go and talk to the people. You'll find out. When was raided, the father, the mother, the brothers, everyone went to the part of the structure, went to prison. And the girl who was bringing children was sent to custodial juvenile center. The woman next to me for years, you thought she's such a thing it is. And then they thought that you can take over the Keshe Foundation and then you would have had all your IPs. We never allowed IPs anything to leak out. Thanks to God, we saved you all. That's all they're after. You come in, make a chat. Any woman associated with me, if you look, has a daughter. They were after that child. You associate yourself with that woman, you're clearly where you are. Go to village of Abraham, ask for Charlie's pub, which was there, and ask for the family, how they've been all sentenced. Uncles are still under sexual control, 40 years on, 50 years on. With this technology, we have a chance to bring an end to it. This is why I said in June, we start teaching children that nobody can touch your child. The child knows how he can use the energy fields. It's like a 999 you send to save emergency. We set up a structure that the children can move the soul to another position that physically cannot be abused. Over the adults, why should a man beat you to death? Because he is who? You can move yourself through the soul. It's trying to style, just connect to a system and move. You cannot understand the implication of this technology yet. With the drug trafficking, the same. I was talking to one of our most beautiful knowledge seekers. He's in the heart of drug trafficking area. He says, Mr. Keshe, my family we don't need to. And funny enough, another member of the Keshe Foundation is notoriously came to Keshe Foundation because he used the foundation for trafficking. We just found out recently. We sort these things out. But all this needs a new technology, a new understanding, not escaping and calling somebody to rescue you. How do I rescue myself? If we teach our children from the young age that there is a way that nobody can touch you physically, abuse you, you can move yourself through the technology which is there. I gave a gift of cup number 1 and 2 to the Chinese government during the corona. This transportation of the soul, freeing man from position it is to bring peace, is another gift which was given to the Chinese government for the worldwide use. And for 30 years, I was locked in the brainwash that this is their life, nothing to do with me. I hear things, but it wasn't there. It was, what do you call it, caked up, creamed up, that it didn't look, when we start looking into it, is horrendous. The lady next to me, you go and check, we gave you names. We are in touch with your mobile phone, your thing is sold till the time it comes when it's time to hit you. They hit you. She's notorious pedophile, covered on the name of the Keshe Foundation, and stood next to me for years. I didn't know this. If I knew, when Interpol gave me data in Switzerland, my head just went through dizziness. Boy, age of 8, was taught by the woman how to sexually abuse his 2 siblings from another woman, 2 girls. You don't do that to your enemies. And you know I'm right? Many of you read, she wrote that Mr. Keshe put my son on a pillow for a week. Yes, I did. Because I was told the boy did something wrong and he accepted, and he didn't do it. I said to the boy, sit there till you find out you don't accept what you haven't done. And I found out later on from the mother that he did. This is how they changed the truth and the fact. Boy, age of 8, trying to rape girls of 5 and 4, taught by the mother. And this is a woman who was next to me. I did not know. Keep away from this woman for miles. Go to the police station of Zeehamn in West Flanders and ask them for the file. They said the file is here and the children are in the list. And anybody who ever tried to go after, she accused them being a gay, pedophile, having sexual relationship with it and that. And people all walked away out of fear, and she did what she liked. She accused everybody of being gay or pedophile or having connection with other men and whatever, because this way she could silence them. What I tell you is in documents of the court in Austria. You can ask for it. When you talk about pedophile, child abuse, child trafficking, this is what I said. From June on, we teach parents with the mothers and the fathers with the children how to be able to move that nobody can abuse you. Bullying, sexual abuse, physical abuse. It's not, I'm here 1 second, I'm not there next. I'm not there at all for you to abuse. Why should a woman get beaten to death? You call women refuge centers? No, you move through your soul, your physicality. This technology is complete towards that point. She never made any friendship with any family, anybody I was connected to that did not have a daughter in it. She wrote about Emily or Elia Kostova. Look at them, they all have daughters, young daughters she could abuse. They are ruthless. To them, a body is a abuse, move, money making. And as they are the head, they never hand it dirty. The others do it for them. Now we have the knowledge, we have the technology to move them, to move the soul of the children. And with it, their physicality, they cannot be abused. When you talk about child trafficking and child abuse, this technology, this knowledge is for humanity and is free, completed. We learn from it, from the food. Now we learn the freedom in the coming time. I spoke about Thailand last week. Every day a woman or a man dies in what we call common household by abuse. Why should be The beauty of it is when you don't let abuse, a husband cannot kill a wife, then the children have the mother and father. At least they're alive, they can live with each other. Somehow the parents are there. You don't put one person in prison for life for murdering a husband or a wife and the rest of it. When there is no child to abuse, where is the trafficking? When we all have food to eat, when we can complete this cycle, do we need people to come from China to go on the, what you call, Blackpool side of the Southport side of the England, that every few years we get so many of them drowned by the water, just picking up some mussels and cockles to be able to live somewhere free? This technology will give us that solution for us all to be free. And they teach our children. Teach our children how to move, how to be able to move the soul, that physicality does not get trapped in it. Then there is no abuses. But the most interesting is these people with devious mind, what they find next. Who's next? I hear the same lady now is starting other people chat show, ladies watch, where your children and grandchildren will chat into in the background. The bosses never dirty their hand. You got to understand, the new technology, the new cycle of energy and knowledge has to be good for every being on this planet. A dog, a child, a man, a woman, a tree. If we give you food and you do not go hungry, how many trees as a vegetarian you have saved not to slaughter? Then you understand how much the change has to be fundamental. How much the change has to be real. And how much we are responsible to bring that change in. Now the technology is there, the communication line is there. It's hundreds, thousands of you listening to this now live. Every corner of this planet. Every religion is here. Muslim, Christian, Jews, Buddhist. You're all here. Knowledge has no limitation. Because you gain the knowledge, you teach the knowledge. And this knowledge, the way we teach it gradually, step by step, you see the statistics that prove you've been there, you're part of it, you pay 300 euro to be there. Tomorrow is your right to be there, to change the world leaders. Not just somebody will go and do it for me. Then what about you? What about your school of thought? And then we see the change. Then we see the next step to development. And whenever we solve a problem, we have to put a solution for it. We are giving a solution for food, for a space to the Chinese. At least 50 years ahead of Americans, at least. But putting that, creating the condition, has to have a benefit for it. The Chinese, to be on the moon, to be on at the moment is the best thing for, it shows advancement in technology. When not a piece of a nail shipped from Earth to moon to produce. I have not even taught you, go into the patents and read. We haven't even showed you how to create structures. Buildings without the bricks and water, with fields. You think you're going to make a building of bricks and clay on the moon or on the Mars? Or you need to take all produced coppers and zinc and whatever? I still got to teach you how to make walls, partitions, floors, buildings without a single brick. Remember, every brick is made of an atom and every atom is a plasma. And now you know how to make the plasma. How you cut a field, how you create, this is part of the teaching I told you about the radiation. How do you cut two rays that you have a children's room, you have a mommy's room, you have an entertainment room, not a single brick. It's in the patent. And I'm teaching you step by step what is in the patent, what's next. Chinese will not carry a single brick. They build, if you go to Almaty in Kazakhstan, used to be the capital. In the central park of Almaty, there is a Japanese structure, and they're very proud of it. And in this structure, there is not a single nail. It's a beautiful structure. Japanese are expert in it. It's origami of wood. Chinese will build cities, not a single screw, not a single hospital, not a single prison, no policeman on the street. I said, you show a step, we show more. Xi decided to use technology for peace, and it's in the memorandum of their meeting last week of CPC. We respond accordingly. They break the rule, we break our point. They keep to what they are pursuing, we will carry on. Gun policy only shoots the presidents in their own head. The same with the child trafficking, the same with human trafficking, the same with the prostitute trafficking. How many girls are trafficked around the world? When you teach them, then you understand. And then you can start to it. And the teaching has gone through a knowledge. Technology is solid, that is accessible to every man, child, a dog, a cat. And when you speak about the child abuse, I had enough suffering for past 4 or 5 years. It took me 2 years to uproot this snake. Look at when I separated and look at the time of the Italian conference. When we found out exactly where everything is. I was in Amman with one of the most beautiful knowledge seekers. They thought because I'm not here, they can do what they like. He saw me, what I went through. But when I came back, I found out a bunch of, as the Interpol, Swiss Interpol officer told me, the two biggest pedophile organizations have met, Mr. Keshe. And you didn't know? I said, no. A football coach, boys football coach. You heard about the priests in Austria in 2004 and 5. The football coaches in Switzerland are well known for the same job. They were children of an understanding. They were part of the same organization. And I had to find a solution with it. And the solution is, this is what I said before you bring the subject. The next few months, we'll bring to teach the children. Why do we need to teach? They cannot be abused. The snake cannot reach them. You can lie as much as you like to the courts. You can pay the judges for the money they're going to receive, but it doesn't change the fact. I set my life totally different from Italian conference onwards. When I found out more, when I sat with the people in Switzerland, and the facts they put on the table, I just bashed my head. What have I done? Why was I blind to this? And showing an immediate reaction was not the solution. We kicked Jackie out. We kicked the rest out. I cleaned everything very silently. Now I can tell you why. Bringing the most notorious pedophiles as the education people. Promoting one of your own inside. Now you understand. The new technology will bring an end to this, and we have to start teaching our children how to move their physicality from position of abuse. Abuse, as I said, bullying in the schools, bullying in the life, bullying in the home environment by husband and wives, bullying at the point of work, where because you need the money to live to stop the hunger, you have to take the abuse. Now you don't, you dial the number, you're fed on the phone, everything you need is given to you. You don't need to go into a MS and fibromyalgia and the rest of it. Knowledge seekers have not realized the implication and application of this technology to come. Because you look at, I want to go to the moon, but I don't want, nobody wants to go to the moon. But you learn how to move your soul and your physicality that cannot be touched. You don't need to die with a hammer hit on your head or a knife going through your body by the husband or a wife in a what called domestic abuse. You don't need to stand the swearing and the shouting and abuse, where through your soul you can raise the soul of your partner. That never gets to that point. They say love make you blind, and made me blind. And when I opened my eyes, I found out how blind I was to the rest of it. As the knowledge I have has to bring that to an end. The child abuse, child trafficking, woman trafficking, everything else has to come to an end. Because you teach it, they laugh at you, oh, it's something fairy tale. But when they get abused, where is this guy called Dean? He was talking about this. Where can I find somebody who cannot stop me from getting abused? You come to us for a cancer or diseases, but the back end of it is when you understand it and you elevate yourself, when you understand the freedom of the soul, and you go and eat on the table of the Creator every day when you're hungry and if you need it because you just connected, the body does its job. You never be put in a position of abuse. You never get the diseases. You don't have a fear of life. And this is what I've done. And we went to make it expand it, that it becomes faster. We got robbed by another bunch of thieves. Many of you helped us. And I came sincerely to you asking for help because we wanted this to be done. And we were set up by another knowledge seekers, the same as the head of the snake. But the time will pass. Nobody will lose anything. But the structure has moved to a position we can deliver now. We can bring to an end a lot of things by knowledge, not just by word, by teaching. By example of them testing themselves. And how we can mix it, how we can bring that mixture to bring the totality. And see how the knowledge can be that it become accessible to all. I suffered, I lost a boy, but I know what it means to lose a boy. But I know with this, many children are saved. Many of you who came here as knowledge seekers, how these people in the background were finding where you are, who you are, if you have children, whatever they could do with you. And they asked us, we want to teach. I didn't understand why. And we said, okay, she's there. Why not? But it was all planned. We are innocent. We don't think the way they do. But now my eyes are fully open. I know I live a beautiful life. But I know that with this life, I don't have to worry about the thing. And I always have a habit. I ask if I'm given, is where I live. I never go and take. I ask for all of you supporting me when I was planning to expand. It wasn't time for it. Maybe next month, maybe next year, maybe traveling, expanding the knowledge through China will bring that change. But when you speak about abuse, I know I can put my head down on the pillow at night, knowing I have the solution for it, knowing the solution you already tested as a hunger. You went to the moon. Many of you did a lot of things. And so it's not a gimmick. It's the reality we all live with. And we can find a solution to it that it reaches everyone. And it's the whole thing is step by step. The children becoming aware of their potential, and they cannot be in a position to be abused, to be bullied, that they become suicidal and they do all sorts of them, or attached to the drugs. And this is what we have to learn. And we are always blindsided when we are emotionally involved. And there's no emotion in this. It has to be reality, teaching, direct teaching. Our children, it has to become part of the life curriculum before our children go to school to be bullied for the first time. It's the responsibility of the parents to teach the children the strength of their soul. Move yourself. Nobody can catch your soul. Nobody can touch it because you don't want to be in that position. Beta files come under different names, color, and ways, and none of us know. Till it comes to public. Till we get to know. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Jefferson, for that question. And we did have Danilo, but I don't think he's here anymore. Okay, and we've got a couple of other questions in the Q&A. From Pamela of Brazil. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much for your tireless work. My question is, there are countless helpless souls on this planet who suffer from the abuses of humanity, vertical beings, minerals, animals, and many others. In past teachings, I remember you saying that they are also participating in the process of transition and elevation of the planet. If possible, could you tell us a little more about this?
The thing is, with this planet, due to its structure, everything living on it, except the stones, or what we call rocks, more or less, has a need to gain energy to move. And this is very important for all of people to understand. And this need to exist by taking from the others has become a pattern of the life of this planet. When it's so fundamental if we could see the whole picture. I'm not a dreamer. I deliver technology which brings the dreams to reality. And when you see the communication of last week, 80 people, I have a near final, what do you call, near final data at the end of it is somewhere, if I can get hold of it to show you. This is the final of when you look at question number 2 and 3, "79 out of 79 participate, just animal killed, less plant destroyed, less as a vegetarian. Will solve this problem." I met one of our beautiful knowledge part with us. He explained to me, I'm a vegetarian, Mr. Keshe. I said, what? I sat him down and explained to him, would you prefer to kill one animal or 1,000 seeds you chew every day, which are each one life? Because are you a vegetarian or an animal eater of the four-legged shape, or whatever you like to call it? vegetarian than the man who kills one animal.
Mr.
So
Keshe,
you decide.
sorry,
1,000 soul
spinning.
you choose, or one soul you, that changes the change. Then the planetary system, then the condition of the environment decides what shrubs, what trees, what's the problem.
Mr. Keshe, you're breaking up there. I think your screen share is taking too much share of the bandwidth.
Do you have a bandwidth problem with me?
Yes, I can take a screen share of the picture and put that on.
Hello.
So you don't have to share it. Can you hear me? Let me do that. I'll take over the screen sharing, Mr. Keshe, so you have more bandwidth. And I'll share your what you had up there.
Can you now?
Yes, yeah.
You want
Still breaking up a bit. Continue.
Has it got better?
I think it's zeroing in now. Yes.
Yeah.
I put up the screen share that you had up previously.
Yes, our power supply was cutting down, was getting weak. So it's on a low battery notice. That was the reason. Is it better now?
Yes.
Yeah, it was one of our systems going, because I'm not in my usual place. We were running short of energy, battery. So it's okay now. But this is, when you look at this statistic, which is your statistic, not ours, unless 79 of you in the survey of a Sunday told us a bunch of lies, then you understand the more satisfaction, the less you eat, the less you kill, comes to a point that you don't need to kill, you learn how to use energies. It brings the change of life for the planet, for the plants, for the animals. And the life pattern is, it finds its own balance. The animals will find a balance with themselves. If you can deliver the same kind of field energy into the forest, into satellites, our satellites now, spy satellites, use to spy and taking every note of everything, who's got soldiers there, where is the border. What about if on these satellites we put the plasma fields, that the shrubs, the dog, the cat, the lion all receive what they want? They just pass each other. In the holy books, you have a promise where the lamb and the lion live in the same nest. This comes through when you can feed the lamb and the lion. That the lion does not see the lamb as a food, but as a companion. And the lamb doesn't have a fear of lion that I become the food of. And the only way you can do is two ways. Feed the lion all the time, that doesn't need to kill and be in every jungle, every bush, to feed every animal the same. Or feed enough that the snake passes you, but it doesn't touch you because I don't need to bite you because you are not food. And the only way it comes is when we deliver enough energy, what is short by this planet, which two ways. You can continuously feed a man or teach the man to use his soul to feed himself. The same goes with when you do that with the soul of the man, you've done the same with a cat, the same with a fish. How many of you, when you participated, paid for your dog to have a headphone on? How come you as a human being were important? How many times whatever you use as the plasma for yourself, you use it for the plants, you use it for the fish in the tank or the dog you feed every day. Now we have the technology, we're expanding the technology, we're expanding the knowledge. So why don't we use these satellites to feed everyone? Creative, whatever is short from underneath, which makes us to kill, we feed from the top to make us humane. We use satellite to spy and kill. We use the satellite to feed and to grow. This is the problem. I had this discussion 3 weeks ago with a very good friend of mine. He's a highly respected ambassador. I said, you know something, speak to the president. He was going out with the dinner with him. I said, tell him Mehran says, give us access to help. That we can operate in the freedom. He says, Mehran, there is no money in it, nobody talks. Let's see how many of you will take up the option of the 3,000 euro for anything you have, because you don't know what data we're going to gather. And always look what's in it for me. Okay, I get it, I pay. What about the data and information that is collected that helps millions of others? You want me to sell the foundation to the organizations for billions of dollars that you have no control, you don't get educated anymore? Or we still battle things with our own doctors and our own teams and step by step. So let the technology to feed the plants and the trees and the dog and the cat and the lion and the monkeys in the jungles as much as the man. We'll see if the promise of the honey and the milk will not be there. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. From Mario of Brazil. Good morning, Mr. Keshe and everyone. My question is, when and how will the criminals pay for the crimes they committed against the population?
Oh, let them decide. They pay every day. Their life is not as hunky-dory as you think. Their lives is not. The fear of their own crimes don't let them sleep every night. They might look happy on the top, but underneath they shake every day.
Yes, I agree. I think that's, I think they're shaking in their boots now. We have a hand up here from Erngard, who has some questions, I think, about the units that, what's she call them? I just have to look it up here. The energy enhancement units, home energy enhancement units.
Yeah, they're going through certification. We have to wait that our team now, we had to get this certified independently and working on it. The units are all in Europe. The units are all here. And they are testing, and we have to get the certificate independently. And to see, once we get the certification, we can release the goods. All the units sold are in Europe, are in our hands, are in the warehouse, and are testing it. Even last week. They're testing it for the power, for the energy and everything else. We cannot do anything. The stock is, whatever is sold is fully in stock in Europe. We have to receive certification, independently tested. We did the same thing with the other things. When it comes to these things like this so serious, we have to have independent certification, and it's going through that process.
Thank you. And I have one more question, and that is with the not eating. I got vertigo so bad that I went back to eating. I was wondering if there's another way that I can deal with that, because I'm afraid of falling.
You spoke about this on Sunday, I think, or before. To find out why you get the vertigo, we have to find out why. Because the vertigo comes from the pressure from the inner ear or middle ear, inside the head. Why do we get this? Has there been a change in, or you did not produce enough liquid as a saliva to that you, what we call run dry? We have to find out what. I would like to speak to you separately about this, because we have to see what parameter has led to this. It's a knowledge we have to gain. We can't just sweep it under the carpet or just something else. We have to find out why it gave you this condition. And it only comes from us exploring and understanding why and how.
Okay. And when and how shall we explore?
No, I have to make time to talk to you. That's all. Finding the time.
I understand.
I went for a meeting yesterday for half an hour, and I had to stay there with the same clothing because it wasn't expected for me to stay. It was just a day return, and it just dragged on, and all sorts of things. So at the moment, all our effort is going with, especially now we have this 100 group. Sign in for 100 group and see how we can get you with the handphone in. If I can
again?
change.
You said what?
100 trial case we put up.
Sign up with it?
Sign up with that, and then with doctors we have a look why, if we can change, if it's a one-off or is the reason, because then I can set the systems up to handle it. We have to find out. With this technology, you cannot say, oh, it's something we don't. There's a case going on with one person for weeks. Doctors can't find a solution. And we are exploring which part of the knowledge has not been understood. Or says, sorry, you can go, you don't need to. And we have to understand, because we come from origin of the creation through plasma, every condition has a plasmatic or something to do with the plasma of the creation. We have to find out what we haven't understood, what we haven't managed to match it. That's all.
Yeah, I signed up for a consultation with a doctor, and I was contacted back a while ago.
Do it again today.
Do it again.
Okay. I'm put in there, and then I'll get it done, because we want to get this 100 done this week.
Okay.
So we have to find out, we have to learn, and the whole understanding is we have to fill in the gaps where it's not understood what we need to change. We have, I think the lady is here, on one of the people. We had a lady for 30 years having a damaged eye because of a caustic dropping in the eye and burning. And the first 2 sessions, she said, I don't feel anything. And the third session with the doctors, she says, for the first time in 30 years, I don't have any more burn. It stopped. So it's when you start the process with the doctors, is your body has to build up to the point of the change. It doesn't mean it's not a plug and play. And this is what the parameters we have to find out. And this is part of addition which knowledge which goes to the doctors, that they can use for their, what we call their volunteers, and what happens to it.
Do I need to have the tabletop unit and the headset to go with it?
Just the present head units will do. The doctors will tell you what to do. The procedure is there. I stood by the support for the medical team up to this week. I was there. I'm there all the time. People who've been around, they know. And from this week, is all getting handed over by the doctors. We stay behind as consulting, but doctors will handle everything. We advise what we know, what it is, what they can add to our knowledge. And all your contacts from now on will be, if we come in, is to learn or to listen that we can teach. Otherwise, from now on, you're totally in the hand of the medical teams.
Yeah, it's just that it's not just vertigo, it's memory and vertigo and everything that relates to the ears and the eyes and the sinuses and that whole area.
So send it in. Let's see what the doctors say. Okay. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we better call it a day. It's nearly 3.5. We had a very long day yesterday and today.
Okay, very well.
Thank you very much. But please don't think I have a pain in the neck or have a joint problem, whatever, for 10 years, whatever. Let us give us a chance to make up the database. And then we'll see where we can do, where we can go. And we don't get these kind of offers every day. And how we can do it. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe, for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here. If anybody has any leftover questions, they can bring them into the next workshop, please. And which will be next week, I assume at the same usual time, Mr. Keshe, at 9 a.m. for next week, so far as we know.
Yes, I hope so. We today we went through an unexpected situation away, and we could not be because we had to be in a meeting, and it takes 2 or 3 hours. So we had to. It was better to have a half an hour session than actually delaying it and have a full session.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, let me check my calendar here. Our next public teaching workshop will be on March 28th, which will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice. And that starts at the 4 p.m. That will be 4 p.m. Central European Summertime, I believe. I think that the summertime time change happens on Sunday, the 26th. So watch your local times as far as noting that the time will go ahead an hour on Sunday, the March the 26th for Central European Summertime. Okay, and I think that's it for announcements for now. So thank you everybody for attending today's Knowledge Seekers Workshop number 478. And on Thursday, March 23rd, 2023. We'll go out with the flight enhancement spaceship unit.
Can I just come in 1 second? We still leave the room open till midnight tonight for those who want to register for the meeting tomorrow. I've just been told by the webmasters. The room will be open if anybody wants to register for tomorrow's session with the world leaders. It still stays open till midnight tonight.
And you're talking about the Telegram room, correct? The Telegram group? That's available for the people that are signed up for the workshop?
No, talking about the meeting with the world leaders tomorrow.
Yeah. And you say, and what's going to be open? The Zoom?
You can still book in. If anybody wants to book in to be in the meeting tomorrow, they can still do so.
Okay.
Because we had people booking late, so the registration is still there. It'll be open till midnight. you'll be allowed to come into the meeting tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Okay, and there is a Telegram group that is the contact group for people that are in the workshop apparently, or can be used, which is the @customer service KFM Telegram group apparently. So,
I don't know about it, maybe there, but you go just to the website of the Keshe Foundation, and in there you find the booking for the meeting tomorrow.
okay, very good.
The website, because some people just seen how do we book, is if you can just put it on the website. If you got access, go to the shop in the store of the Keshe Foundation. There's a link for the booking for tomorrow.
Maybe I can just get that up here quickly.
You're more savvy to this than I am.
You've learned a lot over the years, Mr. Keshe. You're pretty darn good yourself. Let me just get that website up here. So at the Keshe Foundation store, and if we go down to the connecting with the soul of the creator. So you have the event options, and you can register through that process.
Yeah, there's one for the meeting with the world leaders for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat here so we all have it.
Yep, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll go out with the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit. A bit of music to enhance our lives. And we'll see you all in the next public teaching workshop, if not before then. Bye for now.